Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our first virtual BALIF Candidate Forum 2021. We are so delighted for you to join us here tonight. My name is Amanda Hamilton. I am one of the BALIF co-chairs. I will be joined by my co-chair, Jeff Cosby, who will be helping to moderate this evening. We have a wonderful slate of candidates here this evening to duke it out for, no, I'm just kidding, for just showing their little bit of BALIF diversity and flavor. We are going to be asking them to answer one of three questions that we previewed for them in advance, and we will go category by category. We also will do a little bit of BALIF intro. So if you are unfamiliar to being on a board at all, we can give you a little bit of information about that, and then a little bit about BALIF itself. And then we will hopefully end with a little bit of time for Q&A or just kind of mingling at the end. So thank you again for being here. I will just start by saying that being on the BALIF board is awesome. I know I'm very biased for being on this board as one of the co-chairs, but I will say that thank you so much for just thinking about being on the board, because I think you will find it very gratifying and a way to engage with your community in a way that you may not have access before as a lawyer or legal professional. It's a really wonderful opportunity to connect with hundreds of people all across the Bay Area. And with our recent slate of diverse candidates from all over the Bay, we have been increasing our reach, and that includes other places in California even, with our Judiciary Committee now taking endorsements from all over. So it's wonderful to be a part of this organization, and it's had a storied past. We consider ourselves the oldest LGBTQI bar association in the nation, and we also have just a lot of amazing grassroots kind of history. If you look at our balif.org website, you will see how we all started. And so I just want to turn it over to Jeff Cosby, my co-chair and colleague here, and he can maybe share a little bit about his welcome and intro, etc. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, I'll just echo Amanda and thanking everyone for showing interest in being on the board. I've been on the board for 3 years, and it's a lot of work, but it's super rewarding. And fill in a little of the history Amanda mentioned. BALIF was founded 41 years ago at a time when people were legitimately afraid that being out as a queer lawyer was the end of their career, which is why its name is Bay Area Lawyers for Individual Freedom. And the claim that Amanda mentioned, us and Los Angeles dispute who was first. And I've looked at the historical records, actually. I think BALIF is first, but it's not entirely clear. So that one will go down in the history books, as it will both claim to be first. But I think our mission has expanded, but has stayed the same, to create safe space in the legal profession for LGBTQI people. And I think the last 2 years, I'm especially proud of this board for really expanding our work on diversity, equity, and inclusion, both within the LGBTQI legal community and within the broader legal community. And Katie, our administrator extraordinaire, will tell you that despite a pandemic, we have kept her the busiest of any BALIF board ever. So for those of you who have not worked with Katie, if you join the board, you will get to know that Katie is the heart and soul of BALIF, and she is the reason that BALIF can do everything that it does. So, just a little bit about being on the board. Board members are all in charge of running a committee or two. It used to be one committee. We now have co-chairs of committees, planning events, attending events, but the board is very collegial, and people chip in on projects that other people are planning. So it's a great experience. This past year, unfortunately, we missed out on the opportunity to have dinner with each other once a month, but hopefully in the year to come, that will happen once again at some point. I think that's, and I realize most people probably are familiar with BALIF since you are running for the board. Amanda, should we preview the questions and get started?
Yeah, definitely. So I put them in the chat, and I also realized that if you haven't had a chance to look through our website, it's extremely robust. We have a lot going on there, and it will have a refresh soon. I did link you to the balif.org committees because that is maybe helpful to answer one of the questions here. So the first question is, as a BALIF board member, how would you promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, both within the LGBTQI plus legal community and within the broader legal profession? The second question is there a particular BALIF committee that you're interested in serving on? And if so, why? 3, what do you think BALIF's priorities should be over the next 2 years while you were on the board? I will just say that we have changed a little bit the structure of the BALIF committees, in that we used to have just one person who was managing all of the different things that the committee needs to do, from planning events to thinking about new policies and trying to recruit. And we have updated that to allow for a cross-functional kind of support where, as Jeff mentioned, we all pitch in to help other people, but we also have people who are able to be co-chairs on multiple committees so that you can have 1 or 2 colleagues to help you. So just to throw that out there, you don't necessarily have to choose one, but it would be great to hear about your interest in the committee. So I guess before we get started, does anyone have any questions or concerns? Okay. Great.
I think I would just mention we hope that we're not going to keep a strict timer, but answers probably should be no more than 1.5 minutes or so we finish in a reasonable time. And I also realized I meant to say a word about, very briefly, the nominations committee is something that BALIF did 20+ years ago and is in the bylaws and hasn't been done in a long time. And we brought it back this year, recognizing that that sort of committee can really help to promote diverse candidates and bringing in diverse candidates and bringing in people who will really bring something to the organization. And we think they did a fantastic job this year in outreach and finding candidates, and we have an amazing slate of candidates. So I just wanted to address that, because I know for a lot of old-time members, it sort of feels like, where did this come from? So we are very happy to have that committee up and running this year.
Yes, thank you very much to the nominating committee for putting the time in to do all of that. And so without further ado then, we can go through our candidates. We chose to sort of at random, but we have it's a little bit like law school again. I won't cold call you, but I'll let you know that we're doing women first, and then the TGNC other genders, and then male candidates, and then we'll do the law students in the same order. So actually, maybe we should throw it out there. Does anyone have any want to volunteer of the? If go ahead, Sam.
Are we mixing all the categories?
Now we can just mix it. Yeah, well, then you can start it off.
Sorry if that was
no, that's great.
Jumping. Okay.
No, that's great. Why don't you go for it?
I'll go first, just because you know, I like to just get it out of the way. I still struggle with my public speaking, everyone. Hi, my name is Sam, and I am a former board member of BALIF, and I was a law student representative, and then I was a regular director. Just by way of background, I have long worked in criminal defense. I just recently passed the bar, and I've just even more recently accepted a position with the Solano County Public Defender. And so I'm back in the criminal defense field, and I'm elated to be there. Now, with respect to the questions, I'm going to kind of answer them all, I think, kind of in my response, which is, I would love to rejoin the community ambassador position. I have served in that role before, and I loved it. It is a wonderful way to get to know the other minority bar coalition organizations. And one of the things I've really been just super impressed with this last board, I have to give a shout out to this last board, as I've been off the board, just witnessing what's been done, is the direct access that is increased. And I'm just hats off to the current board. I just really want to give you guys kudos for that. And I would like to increase that. I was really, really, really pleased when I heard, and I hope I'm not letting any cats out of the bag by saying this, but desire to do post-conviction work for our community, for folks who have had convictions. I want to throw my weight behind that and do what I can, given that I have the experience that I do in criminal defense, to continue that work, and as well as other sorry, I just saw some chat stuff. And yeah, so I think direct access and proving just the opportunity to do pro bono work sorry, and again, I got distracted, to our community is something I really want to work on. And that's all I got. All right.
Thank you, Sam. And I realize that we can do a spotlight feature, so I'm just going to spotlight you just to say, this is Sam, everybody. Okay, thank you. All right. So I will, I think it's kind of fun to do volunteers, but we don't have to do that either. I'll leave it open to the group. Anybody else want to go next, or else we'll go through the woman category?
I can go next.
All right, great. I will spotlight you. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
There we are.
Here it goes. Hey everyone, my name is Marjan Krisabubo. I use he, they, shop pronouns. I am a 2L at UC Davis, where I'm interested in pursuing a career in land use, housing, environmental law. And I'm running for one of the law student representatives. This past year, I served on the executive board for UC Davis Lambda Law Students Association. And prior to that, I was very active in my undergrad campus at UCLA with Queer Alliance, helping bridge other affinity groups and kind of empowering the queer and trans people of color community at UCLA. And I think that's something that I want to, contribute to BALIF as a law student representative. This past year, we were able to do a lot of community building. I think the pandemic really exacerbated a lot of disconnections between the law student community. And that was something that we really wanted to emphasize, especially within our LGBTQI community. We worked with Santa Clara Law, did socials together, did a lot of remote events on Zoom. And I think that's just something that I want to emphasize, just as, well, I'm really hopeful that we can have more in-person events this upcoming year. And I think that I can lend a very critical, but also empowering lens to this executive board. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I'm going against Devin, who I know from previous positions and just previous spaces. And even if I don't get this position, I'd love to continue working with BALIF and yeah, seeing how I can contribute to the community. So really excited.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right.
I'll go next.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
I feel like it's a good follow too. So hi everybody, my name is Alyssa Aguilar. My pronouns are she, her, hers. If you speak Spanish, ella is great as well. And I'm running for law student representative as well. I'm a 1L at Santa Clara, and I'm on the board of our LGBTQIA association as well, EQSCU. And I was a 1L representative. I'm the incoming external vice president, so I'm really excited for that opportunity there. But I'm also really excited for what I can bring to BALIF here. I recognize some of you guys here. You've probably seen me at some of the events, and I've worked with Amanda and Michael on the social committee to get some events together as well. And that's been really fun. And I've loved having that opportunity and just having that community since I just moved to the Bay in July. During a pandemic, I was definitely worried about making friends and having connections, and especially allies in this space. And it's been really great to have that. So that's something that I've been really grateful for in BALIF. I intend to promote diversity just kind of within myself. I think I bring in a diverse perspective with my background, but I think also we can continue to hear people out and hear other people's perspectives and thoughts and how we can be better allies to them and help them. We've seen unfortunate attacks on a lot of communities lately and would love for it to not be an issue anymore. But in the meantime, I would love to see us continue to do the work that we're doing to try to at least make things better where we can. And regarding what I would like to see the board do in the next 2 years, I definitely want to see a lot more law school outreach. And I feel like the current board's done a great job of that. But I think in my capacity as a law student representative, I can really add that, get things going, and especially help establish more of a presence in the South Bay area and Santa Clara. And that's something that I'm looking forward to. I'm also excited for in-person events. I really want to get some of those going. And I think that, yeah, that was all the questions. That is it. Thank you guys.
You answered all of them. Thank you. We just need to, you can answer just one if you'd like. But let's see. How about, I have to go back to my gallery view. Anyone else would like to volunteer? Or I can volunteer you to go. All right. All right, Monica. Okay.
I can kick off, I guess, the women's.
All right.
So my name is Monica. Pronouns are she, her, ella. And I'm really excited actually for this opportunity. I was not super involved in BALIF in law school. I think part of that draw was, as all of you know, law school is a big time suck, and time is you know, it's precious, and there are affinity groups and you know, kind of niche interest groups that take up our time. And unfortunately, while I was at Hastings, I don't think BALIF was as involved. I completely resonate with what Alyssa was saying, and so I was drawn to other affinity groups. And I would like, as one of the things I would like to see BALIF do is very similar to what Alyssa is saying. You know, outreach and connection with the law schools, I think, is really important. But now being beyond that, I think intersectionality is key. I would like to see BALIF co-sponsor or co-host with other organizations and like very visibly out there. One of the ways that I see myself promoting diversity and equity and promoting BALIF, quite frankly, is in ways that Jeff has done it at Gibbs Law Group. I've seen this is the first time actually being in a law firm where a BALIF board member is there, and also that a BALIF member is speaking so openly and like actively bringing it up in our meetings. And I hear the word BALIF and see BALIF events promoted and spoken about in a really open and inviting way, which I was really exciting to see. And so as part of that, I think to answer the committee question, I want to get myself more out there, and being a board member that's involved in community activism, as well as there was one other one. So there was a community activism and the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Those are kind of where my heart lies. So that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. All right. So thank you for kicking off the category as well. Next, let's go to Tria, if you're ready. Let's replace. I'm just putting you on the spotlight.
All right, am I unmuted? Ah, good, awesome. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Sam, I would never have known that you struggled with your public speaking. I actually have a little cheat sheet, so just to keep myself on track, because I did have things I wanted to hit. So I'm sorry if I'm not making eye contact the whole time. So let's see, where do I start? I'm in-house counsel. Oh, before then, she, her, Aya, please. And I'm in-house at the moment at a commercial legal group. I'm a Hastings grad. I'm calling in from San Francisco. And I'm running primarily because I really want to build community. I think community is everything, or at least it has been in my life. As I mentioned in my candidate statement, I'm a queer, biracial immigrant from Peru. And I spent the first half of my life, I think more than the first half, undocumented. So I could not be here where, I could not be where I am today without the love and support of many people. I'd like to say my community, mi comunidad. And so when I moved to SF from Los Angeles, I think BALIF was a big part of my social sort of fabric. I'm very grateful for everything that I have had the opportunity to do through BALIF, including volunteer with ALRP as a law student. If I get to join the board, I think I would just really want to support our students, our newest members in the legal community, with both social and career programming, especially as we open up safely. I'm really eager to give back. And I know that I since maybe even the start of this pandemic or this past year, which has been very difficult, I think, for everyone, this past month, this past week has been hard. I also realized, how am I living up to my values? And so in this past year, I had the opportunity and I took the chance to join the board of SF's La Raza Lawyers Association, and I'm active with their in-house committee and their mentorship and outreach group. So I very much enjoy organizing pro bono events, especially given that in-house counsel don't really have a lot of opportunities to do that. So we have a DACA clinic coming up in the next month that we're doing with Legal Services for Children. And I would just love to do that for BALIF too. My first job out of law school was at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. I was a fellow, and I was organizing pro bono clinics like twice a month. So it would be a real privilege and honor to, and also go to the membership and ask for what they need and be responsive to those needs as well.
Thanks so much. I feel like my computer was freezing, so thank you so much, Andrea. So we have, I believe, Atticus Lee and Monica Valencia, who are not with us this evening, but they are also the other women candidates, just to let everyone know. We are next moving on to the men. I have Stefan here first. I don't know if that's all right with you to go ahead. I think I saw him here.
Yep, that's fine with me.
All right, great.
Hi, I'm Stefan. My pronouns are he, him. I am currently on the BALIF board as the new lawyers committee, but I've served in the past as the social chair, community ambassador, and as a law student rep. I also serve on the CLE committee for the International Cannabis Bar Association, and I identify as queer and polyamorous. What's the first question? How would I promote diversity, equity, and inclusion? So my focus in BALIF has been on stigmatized groups, usually manifesting in outreach for people with HIV, people affected by the war on drugs, sex workers, people in recovery, and people in the kink community. I'm happy to continue serving on the New Lawyers Committee, but if I were to try something new, I would love to do the CCBA committee. With everything opening back up, I would also love to kind of go back to the social committee. When I did that committee before, I really like to emphasize actually hosting events at queer bars in the city and in the East Bay, and kind of giving queer businesses BALIF's money when appropriate. And what do I think BALIF's priorities should be over the next 2 years? I think especially with the pandemic, there should be a bigger emphasis on direct legal services and partnerships with different local community groups. I really like the idea of offering post-conviction relief in addition to some of the clinics that we've already offered. I think it would be great to also do more know your rights trainings, both in the realm of sex work, in the realm of protest and First Amendment rights, and kind of having an extra layer of protection at those events. Yeah, and that's all I got. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. All right.
So let's move on in the men category. And I have next on my screen, Ernie. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
And I'll remind everyone, you can feel free to answer all 3 questions, or you can answer just one of them. So however you want to handle that.
Great. Well, hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ernie Mejia. My pronouns are he, him, and elle. I work in management, advice, and counsel, working with medium and small businesses in the Bay Area and just nationally in general. I attended USF, graduated in 2019, and during my time there, I was very much like Monica, very law school focused, and I did have the privilege of getting to papers published in law journals throughout the country that focused on both Latino assimilation demands and desegregation in California, and conversion therapy, and bringing new dialogue to arguments outside the constitutional realm, such as torts and prim. And what brought me to running for bailiff board is, I'm sure like many of you, spending a year inside, spending a year really where everything was shot, and you had to find out who you were and what you wanted to do with your life, and really reflecting on what have you done with your time. I consider I'm just I need to do more. I want to be part of the community. I want to build more community. I want to have family and friends here, and I want the legal profession to just really get gayer. So that was the hopes of this whole situation. I think when it comes to what I can do to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, they kind of align with what I believe bailiff's priorities should be. And whether I don't know what bailiff's priorities were in the past, but I do know, I think as Jeff mentioned, they probably are the same and rooted in just the ideas of it's important to continue outreaching to individuals, to teach them what the law is, to teach them what, this big scary thing that a community and system that isn't built for them, how they can run and navigate that exploration. Retention of law students, of LGBT identifying, whether that is in instilling good study skills, broadening the mentor-mentee program, and really just getting them into the world of legal profession. And then just continue community building, because I think it's so important for us to be together, but also for us to be visible in spaces that necessarily LGBT individuals don't necessarily find themselves. With that in mind, I think if I was on bailiff board, the committees I'd be interested in would be getting more members into the bailiff organization, and outreach to law schools as well. As I mentioned, it's really important that we not only get individuals into law school, but find a way to keep them there and matriculate outside and pass the bar. So thank you for your time, everyone.
That is great. Thank you so much, Ernie.
So why don't we go with Ryan next? Sorry, as I catch you taking a drink.
Yeah, no problem. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Manuel. I graduated from University of San Francisco in 2019, and I'm a recent bar passer. I've been taking the California's first remote bar exam in October 2020. I am currently an associate attorney at the law offices of Joseph Saveri Law Firm, handling primarily antitrust class action litigation on behalf of plaintiffs harmed or injured by monopolistic conduct of others. I'm interested in community activism, community ambassador, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'll likely be touching on all the questions in my response. I believe that we can achieve and promote diversity and equity and inclusion through community building and collaboration with various affinity groups in the Bay Area by actively participating and contributing to different groups' efforts in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. While in law school, I was involved in pride law, where I served as a secretary. I prepared newsletters promoting pride law events as well as bailiff events. I helped organize various panels discussing sexuality and inclusion. For example, I co-chaired our first panel on intersectionality and underrepresented voices in the LGBTQI+ community. This was led by Pride Law, where we brought to the table diverse views of from our community by collaborating and partnering with the Asian Pacific Law Student Association and La Raza. I organized and chaired the USF's first ever Pride Law graduation ceremony, which was attended by family and friends and faculty in celebration of our diverse membership and our achievement for 2019. While at USF, I also served as the Vice President and President of the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association. And during my tenure, I brought back the Judges of Color panel, where we hosted judges of different ethnic and social economic backgrounds to inspire students and others in this profession in promoting and advocating for my diverse, inclusive, and equal judicial bench. The Judges of Color panel continues to be an important event at USF and has and will continue to be a collaborative event with diverse student groups such as Pride Law, La Raza, Black Law Student Association, and the Middle Eastern North African Law Student Association. I am also currently a member of the LGBTQI+ committees for both Asian American Bar Association and the Filipino Bar Association of Northern California. I believe that I have the initial steps to advocate for diversity and inclusion through my membership in this organization, as well as what I can give back to BALIF. I am very passionate about this role. I am very interested in being part of the BALIF board, and I have a lot of people to really thank, including my mentors, David Tsai and John Hendricks, who are BALIF members, and also the current board members, Michael Nguyen, and also Christine Capuyan, who took the time and talked to me about being part of BALIF board. So I'm coming in with full knowledge and expectation to work hard, and that's what I'm here for. So vote for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. So let's go to Dustin. You ready to go?
Sure am. Hey everyone. Hopefully, oh damn, you just like zoomed in on all of my chin. I'm like shit. So my name's Dustin Helmer. A lot of you probably know me. I know a lot of you. So great to sort of be back in the thick of things. So I've been involved with BALIF since 2011 when I was a 1L at GGU. I've served on BALIF in many capacities, law student rep, new lawyers, judiciary, member, I want to say membership or gala, something like that. It was a lot. So I've taken a break from the BALIF board and I've been really encouraged by a lot of the changes that I've seen in the last few years. If anyone can harken back to a few years ago when things were a little rocky there. So, you know, after some time away and some personal growth and some, you know, personal things that I've had to deal with my family, I'm ready to sort of get back into the thick of things. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the questions. So, you know, in terms of promoting diversity and equity and things like that, you know, I think like what that means to everybody is a little different. You know, I hear people, you know, talking about their different experiences. And I really do think it's about making sure that everyone is comfortable being a part of BALIF and feeling like they're welcome. A lot of the criticisms that I hear about BALIF is that it is geared towards certain demographics of people. And I do think that BALIF has made a lot of strides to make sure that there are like subcommittees and people on the board who may look like other people who are, you know, who may not have been interested before, but see that the changes are there and want to join. And I think in terms of what committees I'd be interested in serving on, you know, because I've served on a lot, you know, I would definitely be interested in running for co-chair, so watch out, Jeff. Or going back to judiciary, you know, it was a really great experience organizing mentorship opportunities for attorneys looking to get onto the bench and working with other judges to collaborate on ways to kind of go back to BALIF's roots was originally to funnel LGBTQ attorneys into the judiciary. And then in terms of bailiff priorities, to echo some of what I've already heard, I think because of our, the political climate and just everything that's been happening with violence against people of color, people not feeling safe, I think a lot of knowing your rights for certain at-risk communities would be really, really helpful. Putting a bigger emphasis on either organizing clinics with other community partners or other bar association groups to reach out to really vulnerable populations to let them know that, people are thinking about them and that they're not alone. And especially during a time where a lot of people do feel isolated and afraid. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks, Dustin.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Dustin. So let's continue with the men category, and I see Mark here. Do you want to go next, Mark?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. My name is Mark Fickus. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'll try to keep this pretty brief. I have been a bailiff member with a couple of lapses since 1992, so coming on quite a long time, almost half of bailiffs' existence here. In the past 2 years, my focus has been really, I've served 2 years in a row as co-chair of the gala, and I've also served on the governance committee. I think it's probably a reflection of my age in part, but I've always believed that the health of an organization is measured in part by its financial health, and that's why it's been very important to me to be involved in gala for 2 years. And to that end, my first year as gala co-chair was with Amanda, and we raised a record amount of money that year. And then this year, my co-chair was Kel O'Hara, and we actually outdid the record that Amanda and I had set 2 years prior, which, given that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, is incredibly important. And while I think talking about money isn't always the sexiest thing out there, the fact that Bailiff can continue to get the word out and do what it does is a direct function of our ability to have raised money in an incredibly challenging environment. Having said that, if I'm reelected, 2 years is probably enough to serve as gala co-chair, and so I'd want to focus on some other areas in some ways to be determined. But in terms of just briefly diversity and inclusion, I think what I think about is continuing to support kind of what we've started over the past 2 years and continue to do more. Our board member, Daniel Galindo, has done a great job as the first chair of our diversity inclusion committee. So just the existence of that committee helps. And then for me, in terms of just some stuff I've been doing professionally over the past year, I've had the opportunity to interact a lot with the Charles Houston Bar Association, the Asian American Bar Association, Korean American Bar Association of Northern California, and the Filipino American Bar Association of Northern California. And I'm seeing Sam on my screen there. And one of the things I enjoyed a lot when Sam was still on the board was, a lot of times we would go to a lot of the functions put on by the other minority bar associations. And so to me, diversity and inclusion is being about present for our allies. And so I think a lot of what I would be interested in doing is continuing just that, to be present at events and gatherings that are put together by our allies to show that we all stand together as members of a broader minority bar coalition, because we know that our allies stand by us when we do that. So I think that there was 2 of the 3. I'm just going to quickly look here.
You can answer just 2. That's fine.
You know what? I think I will just answer just those 2 in terms of bailiff's priorities. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it right there.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So we have 2 people left in the men category. Mile, do you want to go next? And correct me if I'm mispronouncing your name.
It's my L, but I mean, like, I feel like the nuance is often missed on Zoom, so it's totally okay. You're getting 80, 90% there. So like when you're not a judge, so I can correct you, but it'll be fine.
If
hi,
you
everyone.
joined the board, please correct me as much as you need to.
I'm on it. I gladly will. So my name is Mael Murgart, and I go by he, him pronouns. I actually am a recent grad from Hastings in this last year and passed the bar, and currently work in-house at Liftoff Mobile Inc. Before I actually went to law school, I worked in education. So I was an educator teaching ninth grade science students all about physics and all the fun things. And the main goal there was like to focus on getting Black and brown students to graduate. I was in a special program that like focused on those things. And during law school, that similar focus on diversity happened as well. I was a part of all of the affinity groups you can name that we all know, Balsa, Outlaw, showed up to La Raza events, even though I'm not necessarily identified, but I am an ally. But I also was the law student body president at Hastings. And in that role, I really felt that it was my job not only to do the everyday things, but also to raise the voices of those who are really underserved. Like a lot of us all in this room, being LGBT in law school wasn't like the majority thing. Some of us didn't necessarily have that space to be open as much as I did in my last experience in law school, and other students will have in the future. And I think it's really important to use spaces not only like BALIF, but also just being actually in law school specifically and pushing them to be more inclusive, whether it's in their curriculum, whether it's in like their housing and their policies. And as the student body president, I did that in multiple ways. And I hope to be a part of BALIF and continue that work by being on the New Lawyers, New Student Program committee, or even engaging in the social aspects and committees of BALIF, just because when you do those actions and those everyday things to make people feel welcome, you can actually engage in the space. I know for me, being a law student in the last 3 years, like BALIF wasn't honestly like the place I would like to go. I felt welcome and I engaged to a degree, but I didn't see people that looked like me. I didn't see people who shared those same interests and values. And I really have noticed in the last year, like BALIF's been great. Like, you know, you're doing so many great and really new innovative things in the world of diversity, equity, inclusion. And I really want to take my experience, take my identity, take my education and really push that forward, because I think this group, because we because we represent so many different identities, we truly actually span every single identity, right? Every issue that comes up in the media, whether it's police brutality or the housing crisis, really does affect us. And I think we're in such a unique position to keep pushing and advocating on all fronts for those issues. So I really hope that you all vote for me, because I really want to do this work and join this really great team of people. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think our last candidate in the men category then is John.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. First of all, I just want to congratulate Mael on passing the bar. I remember that took me 3 times to do that. So congrats on doing that. It's always exciting. My name is John Lucchese. My pronouns are he, him. I am a longtime BALIF member, been with BALIF since 2008. There might have been a lapse or two, but been always, an active participant with a lot of our great events, and of course the annual galas, which are always a lot of fun and raise good money as well for our organization. I am running for the board for the first time. I've always wanted to do this, and Katie was saying, I think we were talking earlier this year, she's like, why don't you run for the board? And I said, you know what, why not? So I'm really excited to do it and to join this amazing, really amazing slate of candidates. We're such a lucky organization to work and to collaborate with great, diverse people. So to address some of the questions, in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, I think one of the great ways we could achieve more diversity in our group is, in fact, in that question, it says, how would you do it within the legal profession? Well, I think we should reach out to include and recruit more paralegal professionals, legal support professionals, because by the way, I'm a 10-year legal recruiter. I recruit both attorneys as well as legal professionals. So I work with paralegals and legal support professionals a lot, and it's a richly diverse community here in the Bay Area. So I think we should reach out to those professionals, legal professionals, and encourage them to join our organization. And we could even do perhaps a committee, a paralegal section or paralegal committee to include those new members. To address some of the other questions in terms of some of the top priorities I'd be working on, or at least, actually, let me go to the programs and committees. Committees I'd probably like to join would be the membership and the programs committees. I'm a connector. I like to connect with people. I have a good sales acumen, so I think that that's always helpful in driving membership and encouraging sponsorship for our events and our galas. I'd be happy to get involved with those efforts. And then in terms of priorities for the organization going forward for the next 2 years, I agree with this. I think everyone said it. I think the organization's in a really good place. We're really prioritizing diversity, equity, inclusion. We're being great allies to our minority brethren out there. And I think we're doing a lot of, and then of course for the transgender rights, which I think is an important frontier for in terms of legal rights within our community. So I think we should continue on those priorities. Also, I remember working with Dustin years ago. We do a career fair. So I think I would like to, as a legal recruiter, I'd like to get that back on BALIF's events for the year. So those are some of the things I would like to pursue, and I'm really happy to run for the board here, and would love your vote.
Thank you. This is so exciting. I wish we could have everyone join the board. I was going to say that just as a heads up, I know we're approaching our 7:30 hour mark, so I hope that the people who haven't yet spoken can still stick around. If not, please message me. But thank you, everybody, for bearing with us as we may go a little bit beyond. So we will now be moving into our traditionally called TGNC Other Genders category. So kick it off with Cal O'Hara.
Good, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Cal O'Hara. My pronouns are they, them. I am currently an Equal Justice Works Fellow at Equal Rights Advocates. I'm doing a project about expanding support for LGBTQI students. So doing a lot of education equity work, and that covers direct legal services, impact lit, a lot of community outreach, things like that. I was sort of snuck into the bailiff board last year for a 1-year position. So now I'm running for a full 2-year position. And last year, as Mark said, I was gala co-chair with him. So hopefully I would like to do that again. I think it's really important in organizations to have institutional memory and sort of keep people who carry that forward, so you're not recreating the wheel every time you try to do something. And I will admit that the opportunity to plan an in-person gala instead of a virtual one would be exciting. So fingers crossed for that. I tend to like to keep things short when I can, so I will just answer, we'll more focus on one of the questions. And that is what I would like to see from BALIF over the next 2 years. I have been really excited. I've been part of BALIF since law school. I went to Berkeley, was involved with BALIF a little bit, was also the co-chair or one of the co-chairs of our LGBTQ org at Berkeley. I was the head of the TGNC committee there. And a lot of my work is about expanding support specifically for trans folks. And so, both on a personal level or professional level, that's something that's really important to me. And that's something I would like to see BALIF continue working on in terms, as well as our other DEI initiatives. I think they're all super important. I know that there's been a lot of changes on those fronts over the past 2 years, and that's been really awesome to see. I've loved all of the new opportunities to get lawyers involved with more pro bono work, really working within the community to support folks, and that has been really great. Something else that I think would be good when I think about how to create an inclusive space is what does it mean to engage bailiff membership about how to be allies for other folks in the organization? How do we make sure that those spaces, as a result of who's there, if we are trying to expand diversity, that those spaces feel comfortable, that they feel safer. I don't personally like to use the word safe space because I don't think any space is fully safe. But I do think that having those conversations and taking, especially those of us with more privilege, taking it upon ourselves to really get those conversations going, to engage folks who maybe are at different points in their learning or their sort of like understanding of these issues is a really important part of our work as a board. I've watched that work happen on the board over the past year as I've been here, and I know it's been happening before then. And I think finding ways to have these conversations on a larger scale is a really important part of what we're trying to achieve here. So I have really liked being on BALIF this year. I am really hoping to return and hopefully work with some of you. And I will leave it there. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Cal. All right, and Angela, I'm gonna spotlight you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Angela Clements. My pronouns are she and they. I was also on the Queer Caucus at Berkeley, maybe a number of years before you. I graduated in 2009 from Berkeley. Prior to law school, I have a history of queer activism and advocacy in DC and in Nebraska, where I am from. I'm coming to kind of re-engaging with BALIF after really having my career be at a large law firm in San Francisco. And then a few years ago, I left and founded my own employment law firm with offices in where I live, which is in Sonoma County and in San Francisco. I'm kind of getting re-engaged primarily because I've been in and around both, you know, government, nonprofits, big law, and my legal career. And I think, and now I'm in small solo practice. And one of the things I've seen is as queer attorneys, queer and trans attorneys get to kind of this mid-career point, folks start dropping out of being involved in certain things. And I'm kind of looking for community both to kind of re-engage people. And specifically, I think for the 2-year priorities, there's a couple of things. A lot of you have touched on them, and those are all, you know, really great ideas. I'm pretty active in the Sonoma County Bar Association and the Bar Association of San Francisco Solo Small Firm section. And one of the things I think it's great that you're focusing more on geographic diversity, because there are a lot of queer attorneys out here who are not, and I used to be in Oakland, but who are outside of the immediate Bay Area who could definitely use the professional support and community. And then I also just think another priority has to be in this time, that this last year that we've had, is to be a really good allies to our other diverse bar associations in the Bay Area. I mean, the attacks on trans kids are relentless. I'd be interested in both the amicus and the Judiciary Committee to sort of help with some of those issues. I serve on a local public school board up here in Sonoma County. I think I'm the only trans non-binary person in Sonoma County on a board, and I have a trans little boy. So those issues are near and dear to my heart, and I really do believe still in the power of lawyers to make a difference on these issues. So also just, you know, also excited to just have some social time with other queer attorneys, since we've all just been behind our computers at home for the last 13 months.
Thank you. That was lovely. I will say that I think, you know, queer families and queer parenting is something that BALIF could definitely think a lot about. We used to have, you know, picnics and things like that. And of course, with the pandemic, things have also dropped off, but love the idea of more of that. But I was going to turn back actually for a moment to our female candidates, because Monica Valencia joined us. And so turn it over to her as a spotlight. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. My apologies for running behind. I had some technical difficulties, but I'm happy to be here and to see all of you, even if I know some of you, but I'm looking forward to getting to know some of you as well as we move forward. I was involved with BALIF as a law student, and then I kind of, I'm coming back now for a lot of the reasons that many of you mentioned, and it's that camaraderie, that, finding that building relationship and community with people. And one of the committees that really kind of calls to me is that community activism committee, because I think that serving as lawyers, we should be serving vulnerable communities, underserved communities. And I think for me, being able to do that as an attorney and part of this committee really pulls at my heartstrings. And I also think about, in terms of inclusion and equity, I think it's so important to think about how the gaps even within the LGBTQ community, and how much people of color often feel like there aren't enough spaces for them. And I think that for me, that would be a way for me to promote that, because I often didn't feel that some spaces were for me, whether I was in law school or prior to that. And so during this pandemic, I think I'd like to rethink how we're looking at models of equity and inclusion and addressing the gaps of inequality in the legal profession specifically. As it stands right now, only 2% of the profession income are made up of Latina women. So that to me is just unacceptable. I think that many of us didn't grow up with cultural capital. And so for me, it would be my goal to make sure that we show and extend a hand to people that were just like us, so that they know that they have family, that they can do this, and that there's spaces for them, and that we can change these systems to also look like us. And so for me, rethinking those avenues of equity in order to change the profession is really at the forefront for me. My hope is to use BALIF as a platform of change to create that equity and inclusion for specifically people of color in our communities, and to expand out of the big cities. I'm from LA, and I did a lot of work in San Francisco, but there's a lot of these rural areas, Central Valley specifically, when you're thinking about the undocumented community, the immigrant community, where some of them would have to travel to a place like San Francisco to feel safe or to feel free. And so I want to change these systems so that we can reach out to these communities and normalize the feeling of safety for them. So that's, I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to connecting with all of you in the future.
Thanks so much, Monica. All right. So I believe the last person we have not heard from yet is Devin Oliver. So last but not least, I'm going to spotlight Devin. Here we go.
All right. Hello, everyone. I know y'all been waiting and y'all probably hungry. So let me hopefully make this worth your time. So my name is Devin Oliver. Pronouns are he, him. I'm currently a Tula Berkeley Law. Sorry you're hearing my partner put away dishes in the background, but here we are. So I'm going with the flow. I'm at Berkeley Law, and I just actually transitioning off my role as co-chair for Queer Caucus. So I see several other Queer Caucus alums. And I think from that experience and other experiences back in community organizing work in Texas, doing QTPOC organizing in Ohio, where I'm from, I think I'm learning that you really have to advance diversity, equity, inclusion. It's not enough just to be a diverse body, be a diverse student, law student, be a diverse lawyer. Just being diverse isn't enough. And so you really have to have intention. And so for me, as a BALIF board member, student representative, it's really, I'm trying to be mindful of that framework. And for me, that framework really involves intersectionality, as I think Monica might have mentioned. But in thinking really, each and every one of us thinking about the privileges and the disadvantages that each and every one of us embody, and thinking how to use equitable principles to really center those of us who are at the margins. And so that's kind of the framework I'm thinking about this role, and thinking about BALIF and how to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so for me, though, what the work really looks like, it's not just the public facing, kind of like the center stage type of work, the public facing programming. I think it's just as much about the programming as it is about what happens behind the scenes. And so I think from being engaged as a queer leader, thinking about what do I have to do to make members feel supported, feel seen, feel included, feel centered. And so I think a lot of that has to do with building relationships, one-on-one and also collectively, supporting law students and also allied communities across different campuses. So thinking beyond the Berkeley bubble, beyond just San Francisco, for other schools across the Bay Area, and really trying to think about how to share resources equitably. And I think publicly, I would also love to help the other committees really engage in programming with a lot of law students and young lawyers in mind too. Beyond just panels and professional development workshops, which are really the bread and butter of a lot of programming, but I think going beyond that to engage with community-based grassroots organizations, for example, TGIJP, and really thinking about our Black and Brown siblings, our incarcerated, our trans GNC siblings as well. So thinking about all of us who are living in these intersections, and really thinking about how to pull together our resources and knowledge to help advance equitable outcomes. And I think another thing is how to really bolster the mentorship program too. I've been thinking about that a lot. So how to not only create mentorship opportunities across legal sectors, but also thinking about first generation professionals, first generation college graduates like myself. And so, yeah, I think both in terms of like the outward facing programming, as well as what happens behind the scenes as somebody who's supporting everybody else. I think as a student representative, I really like to help center all of us who are from marginalized communities, and really thinking about how to diversify and enrich our community and our profession overall. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think you have a lot of fans of your background. That's great. Very festive. So with that, I think that's all of our candidates who had a chance to speak. Thank you so much for taking the time out of a work week to be here, a school week. For some of you, it's really lovely to hear everybody's perspectives. And I think we have an awesome slate of candidates. I'm including here a link to the elections so you can see all the candidates. So some people were not able to attend this evening. Again, don't discount them just because they might have had a time conflict. We have a lot of great people to consider. Feel free to head out if you need to. I just wanted to share a couple of updates on upcoming events. And so I'm going to end the recording here. Go.